An 88-year-old retail icon just made a shocking decision about its pet business. And in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly why. So let's just dive right in. Now, to really grasp the magnitude of this move, we kind of need a little context first. Tractor supply companies started way back in Chicago in 1938, literally as a mail-order tractor parts catalog. Crazy, right? Today, they've grown into the absolute biggest rural lifestyle retailer in the U.S., running over 2,400 stores across 49 states. Back in 2016, they placed a huge bet on the growing pet industry by acquiring Petsense. That's a specialty chain for food, supplies, grooming, the whole shebang. And hey, it seemed to pay off. Pet stuff now makes up roughly 20% of Tractor Supply's entire business. But suddenly, something has shifted, and they are making a massive structural change.
Tractor Supply is abruptly going dark on 75 of its Petsense locations across the country. During their second quarter earnings call on July 23, 2026, they just dropped this absolute bombshell on investors and the entire retail world alike.
And the sheer scale of this move, it is massive. They're slashing their footprint from 209 stores across 23 states down to roughly 125 locations. So we aren't just talking about trimming a little fat here. We are talking about eliminating more than a third of the entire Petsense footprint in one single sweeping motion.
So why do this? Well, the crux of it comes straight from CEO Hal Lawton during that July call. He essentially stated that they believe these actions are going to improve returns, simplify the business, and, this is the absolute key part, allow them to direct resources toward higher growth, higher return opportunities. He made it crystal clear that the goal isn't just to cut costs, but to actively redirect their resources. But to really understand why they pulled the trigger right now, we got to peek at the math behind the scenes.
Which brings us to our first section, the financial reality.
Take a look at this. Tractor Supply totally missed Wall Street's second quarter expectations, literally across the board. They reported adjusted earnings of 81 cents per share, missing the 85-cent forecast. Revenue came in at $4.54 billion, which fell short of the expected $4.64 billion. And overall comparable store sales, that's a massive health indicator for retail, and it declined by 1.5%. Now, CEO Hal Lawton insisted the underlying business remains healthy, but that definitely begs the question, what exactly went wrong this quarter?
Basically, they ran straight into a perfect storm of macroeconomic headwinds. First off, fuel prices spiked right during the vital spring selling season. And think about Tractor Supply's customers. They're often driving long distances in diesel pickups, so they're incredibly sensitive to fuel costs, which ended up keeping a lot of rural drivers at home. Second, there was this relentless drought across key southeastern markets that absolutely decimated normal seasonal activity. Demand for lawn care and outdoor stuff just dried up, literally. And finally, consumer habits are just changing. People still love and invest in their pets, sure, but they're consolidating trips, they're pivoting hard toward absolute needs, taking a much more cautious approach to fun. Actually, scratch that, not just fun, but really any discretionary purchases. And the impact of those headwinds was incredibly concentrated. Get this, soft performance in big-ticket items and hardline spring goods during just the month of May alone dragged down the entire quarter's comparable sales by roughly 2 whole percentage points. One single bad month created a ripple effect that basically sank the entire quarter's performance. Now, to understand the 75 specific Petsense closures in plain English, we have to talk about a concept called negative four-wall cash flow. The CFO, Kurt Barton, actually admitted this was plaguing those exact locations. Negative four-wall cash flow basically means the physical store itself is losing money at the ground operational level before corporate even begins to factor in overhead. I mean, they were literally bleeding cash just by keeping the lights on and the front doors unlocked. But ripping the Band-Aid off, it is not going to be cheap. Axing these underperforming stores brings a massive upfront financial hit. The company expects roughly $71.7 million in total charges. Breaking that down, it's $65.8 million in various impairment and restructuring charges for Q2, plus another $5.9 million in inventory write-downs. Basically, they're taking a massive short-term punch to the gut to stop a long-term bleed. So that leads us to the next section, the contradiction. Are they retreating or are they pivoting? See, looking at those closures in the millions in write-downs, you might naturally assume, oh, they're just bailing on the pet industry altogether. But actually, if we look at the timeline chronologically, a completely different picture emerges. They've spent the last 2 years very quietly snapping up digital and mobile pet businesses before dumping all this physical retail weight. Back in October 2024, they bought all of it, an online pet pharmacy. Then in May 2026, just months before announcing the 75 physical store closures, they acquired VIP Petcare, a mobile vet service. So, no, they are definitely not abandoning pets. What they're actually doing is shifting away from that old school traditional physical retail model and building a highly integrated, high margin ecosystem of digital and mobile services. By leveraging VIP Pet Care, they can offer recurring wellness services, mobile clinics, and 24/7 vet access. They're pushing digital pharmacy reach through all of it. They've even launched partnerships like nationwide Instacart delivery. The strategy here is undeniably quality over quantity. They are ditching the brick and mortar dependency and moving exactly to where the modern consumer actually lives. So where is the cash saved from closing those 75 stores actually going? It's being pumped straight into modernizing their best existing stores and supercharging logistics. First, they are purposefully tapping the brakes on physical expansion. They dropped their 2027 new store target from 100 down to roughly 85 to 90 locations. Second, they're funneling money into what they call Project Fusion, which is all about crucial remodels and upgrades to make existing stores wildly productive. And third, they are aggressively expanding their final mile delivery network to boost the customer experience and drive stronger returns. Ultimately, for you and me, it means fewer physical stores to walk into, but way faster deliveries straight to our front doors.
Now let's take a brief moment to look at the human cost. We really have to acknowledge that while these abstract corporate pivots look super fascinating on a spreadsheet, they have very real microscopic impacts on local communities. Now, the full national closure list hasn't been completely detailed yet, but if we just zoom in on Arkansas as an example, the tangible cost is crystal clear. Arkansas is losing 6 of its 9 Petsense locations. Communities in Searcy, Beebe, Jacksonville, Pine Bluff, El Dorado, and Fayetteville, they are all losing their local store. Only Batesville and North Little Rock are surviving. Behind every single one of those boarded-up windows are employees losing jobs and locals losing a convenient business. And making matters tougher, Tractor Supply hasn't publicly detailed their severance or relocation plans for these folks yet, which makes the whole transition incredibly uncertain for those on the ground. Okay, let's quickly pull this all together. What are the key takeaways from this explainer? Number 1, Tractor Supply is axing a full third of its Petsense footprint to cut out stores suffering from negative four-wall cash flow. 2, they're eating $71.7 million in short-term charges, betting that the long-term gains are absolutely worth the pain. 3, this isn't a retreat, it is a massive structural pivot away from physical retail toward a much leaner, smarter digital and mobile pet ecosystem. And finally, thanks to a deeply uncertain consumer environment and persistent soft traffic, Tractor Supply officially withdrew its long-term financial framework. That signals a highly cautious outlook from them moving forward. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to debate. Is this whole ecosystem pivot a masterclass in modern retail strategy? Cutting the dead weight to build a highly profitable digital future? Or, given that withdrawn financial framework, is this actually a desperate move disguised as innovation, serving as a massive warning sign of deeper consumer troubles ahead? Honestly, it's a colossal gamble for an 88-year-old retail icon, and you better believe the entire industry will be watching closely to see if this bet actually pays off.